Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here with an Epstein update. So, now that Epstein is gone, no matter what you believe happened, he's out of the picture, and Ghislaine Maxwell is gone because we have an incompetent justice system, and we can't seem to find Jean-Luc Brunel, and people like Les Wexner have kind of faded into the backdrop, right? Well, is there hope with this new 10,000 pages of, I don't know, new allegations, new connections, and from what I understand, 29 other women other than Virginia Giuffre Roberts. So what does this mean? We already know that there are other people that have presented lawsuits, correct? But all we have in that 2,000 plus page report is the limited documents from Virginia Roberts and Ghislaine Maxwell specifically. So what does that mean? That means these are much different documents. So when everybody was hooting and hollering after the fact that hundreds of names had been revealed and all that was all bullshit. You got to cut through that. You have to actually deal with people that are looking at these documents. However, in turn, although a lot of it was stuff that was in the public realm, there were big names. Glenn Dubin, and we're going to go into him in a moment. And he's somebody, again, associated with Wexner, big time, business-wise, friendly with. Okay, Bill Richardson, whose name is faded into the background, former governor of New Mexico, where, of course, Epstein had Zorro Ranch, right? Ex-presidential candidate, Bohemian Grove member, Bill Clinton ally, Genie board member, I think, as well, Genie Energy, right? So we're going to read this article. We're also going to talk about some of the absurdities that the media is focusing on. For instance, Prince Andrew, who's long been someone, accused of being with younger girls. This scandal with Epstein was out there, almost a decade ago at this point, right? And now he's trying to claim and has claimed that the photograph is fake. And we're going to just dismiss that big time today as well. But let's focus on when we might actually see these 10,000 pages of documents, because it's not quite clear in this article, but my guess after really looking into it, and we'll go to that in a second, I would say if we do get to see them, and there are hundreds of names, I think that we're probably January or February. They're really going to let this try to die down. Jeffrey Epstein's friends are facing a nervous wait after a judge in New York laid out a schedule for releasing court documents which mention literally 1,000 people by name. One unnamed man, known only as John Doe, wrote to the court in advance on Wednesday's hearing, begging the judge to keep his name out of the public domain. And we've covered that ad nauseum. We've covered a lot of this in walk and talks. We haven't really laid out when the possibility of these documents coming out and what exactly they are. Let's see. Jeffrey Paglusia, a lawyer for Epstein's long-term companion, Ghislaine Maxwell, and how she's not in jail, I don't know, especially when you read those indictments, right? So the sealed documents include hundreds of pages of investigative reports that mention hundreds of people. They contain depositions taken from 29 people. Now, I would imagine that of those 29 people, not everybody is a victim here. I would imagine that a lot of these people are part of what is referred to, what do they refer to it in the indictment? Not the enterprise. I believe they refer to it as an enterprise, where people that worked for him signed NDAs. If they were approached by law enforcement, they immediately got in touch with lawyers, et cetera, et cetera. They were paid well. Okay? So depositions from 29 people, 10,000 pages, and hundreds of names, if not 1,000 people by name. There are hundreds of other people who could be implicated in the document, he said. Judge Loretta Preska is overseeing the unsealing of the 10,000 pages relating to a slander case filed by Virginia Giuffre Roberts, an alleged victim of Epstein against Miss Maxwell, accused of being his madam. And remember, that's where we got the 22 plus 100 pages. She has always denied any wrongdoing, bullshit, and was not in court for Wednesday's hearings. No kidding. And we could talk all day about that staged photo shoot for the New York Post and whether she was ever even in L.A. or on the West Coast at the time, or whether she was on the East Coast like they were reporting in Boston, or if she's even in the country at this point. I mean, how can law enforcement sit there and act like they don't know where these people are? Please. On July 2nd, the U.S. Court of Appeals on the Second Circuit ordered that the documents in the case be unsealed owing to the overwhelming public interest. The first tranche of 2,000 pages was published on August 9th, the day before Epstein killed himself in jail. The second set is due to be published in the coming months when Judge Preska is satisfied. All right? So to check that out, Tiffany Fitzhenry here, she's got a nice little thread, okay? But we can look at the document here, and we can see that September 4th, they're giving it out, and then a couple weeks after, there's going to be a rebuttal, no more than 5 double pages, 12-point type, etc., including footnotes. You get it? And then another rebuttal, and then another. You see how this is going to go? This is going to be a process. They're not coming out tomorrow. And let's just hope they do come out, and they're not redacted, because we still had a lot of redactions in the last one. So with that being said, right here, I want to get into this photograph and Prince Andrew and all that other stuff right now, because he's shut off his Instagram comments. Why the fuck does Prince Andrew have an Instagram? Am I the only person that's disturbed that an arms dealer and a royal is on social media? He's got to be in his 60s, right? Is on social media with an Instagram account. Not like a political Twitter. Who is this guy? Accused of some pretty dark shit, folks. Not in jail. Totally protected by his bloodline. Do you get that? In 2019, there's still rule by fucking bloodline? Is that not just insane by itself? And it's not just, again, the English royal family, the Saudi royal family. We continue with that. The predator class disturbs me, okay? And that's what this points to. A lot of people in that predator class. So he says that that's not real. So I want to show people this, because we do a thing called Photoshop here. We're going to copy image, all right? And I've already set up a couple things for us to look at. Been doing the Photoshop for a long time now. Now we're going to Control V that right in there. All right. Now let's take a look at this photograph up close. Now behind me, I want to just show this right now. This is like a composite photograph. When you get in there, it starts to be grainy, but you can see the separations, etc., etc. I've added effects. You can see where the cut lines are. It's pretty obvious, right? You know where the photoshopping is. If you wanted, let's bring another person in here. Like, here's a upcoming thumbnail for G. Edward Griffin. You can see I made a tiny little error in here. You can really get into the nitty-gritty. You can see right there, for instance, there's some extra white pixels, etc., etc., etc. You can tell when something's been photoshopped. I've been doing this a very long time. Okay, this is the photograph. This is actually decent resolution, 1200 by 800. That's 720p. A little bit better. Now let's look at this all the way around. Very uniform. Very uniform. The artifacting everywhere is very uniform. Even right here you can see, for instance, when you get into where his shirt ends and the wall begins, you can see that the purple manifest here is kind of against the wall, and it skips over, and you can see it in there, right? Just little hints. I mean, perfect artifacting. Look at the tone of his face here. Lots of overblown reds. Again, taking a look. Everything looks spot on. Even this little yellow halo goes to the lighting, not to the photoshopping. Everything here. You can actually see some stray hairs kind of being caught, even in this image, and perfect down the line. Perfect. There's no cut here. That's his shirt. Let's Zoom out a little bit. That's her clothes. You can see her arm starting to go right between, huh? And they were trying to say this isn't his hand. Bullshit. Take a look. I mean, there's zero chance this is not a real photograph. In fact, look at the colors of this, and you look at the colors of Ghislaine Maxwell here in the background, and they're the same. You can see the lighting here in the background. That's a reflection of the main, I would imagine, flash of whoever's taking this picture. Back when you took pictures with just, actual photos. So I promised to do that like a week ago, but I figured I'd do it with the news. Where is it? Right here. That Jeffrey Epstein's accuser denies it's Photoshop. No kidding. In a letter to the Duke of York. I mean, it's ridiculous that I even have to report on this today. But Virginia Roberts has sent a letter. I mean, give me a break. Nick Waits with a super chat. Since when does my reputation could be ruined count as a reasonable excuse to prevent, I'm sorry, that's jumping up. Reasonable excuse to prevent anyone from being implicated in criminal activity. Damn tootin', my friend. It would never fly for you and I, only for the John Does of the world. That predator class we talk about, right? That royalty, that billionaire class. And let's talk a little bit about that billionaire class. So when you see people like this Wexner guy, let's talk about Robert Maxwell, for instance, or even, Epstein towards the end. They said he wasn't as rich as he said he was. Now, they seem to get into these financial binds, right, at the end. So they were saying before Epstein, Victoria's Secret was already having problems. Wexner kind of already removed himself. I think he's 81 or 82 years old. We already went over with Johnny Vedmore. And if you haven't seen that video, by the way, let's see if we can get down there. If you haven't seen the Vedmore video, it's kind of a must-watch. Where is it? Where's me and Johnny? He had a really great article. Man, why can't I find the Johnny Vedmore stuff? Here it is right here. Say hi to Les Wexner, Epstein, Junkerman, Wexner, and 2 U.S. senators. It's very important to note that, Les Wexner's not just a Victoria's Secret guy. There's a man named Frank Lutz who worked for, I believe it's called the Wexner Group, which was really a think tank on behalf of Israeli military interests that kind of aligned with neocon interests in the war on terror. And I went over some of that document because it's so telling how they sell you this fear. It was right after Saddam Hussein had already fallen. They're like, well, how do we keep up support? How do we get involved now? How do we use this to our benefit? They were talking about using women, attractive women as spokesperson. If she has a baby, even better. They were talking about laying low, and now's the time to pounce. We went over specifics, showed you the documents, because that's what we do. That's a leaked document, and explained to you that, yeah, this guy has a military-industrial complex interest. That's the truth. Now, what's really interesting to me is that, Wexner, and then we're going to get into Glenn Dubin in a second, who, was aligned with Wexner and staying at his home. We're going to show that in a moment. But Wexner's the one that gave the mansion to Jeffrey Epstein, was one of his sole clients, was obsessed with spy movies, had the James Bond bathroom, right? Well, in this, there's a couple of executives that, on the condition of anonymity, talk to the New York Times and basically say, look, we signed non-disclosure agreements, but nobody has contacted us about any kind of real investigation into this. I already reported to you that flyjetready.com, JetReady is the name. Jeffrey Gollump was being investigated in association to Epstein, but they, from my source, again, him and the other executives, they were trying to pin it to Trump financials. And remember, the media tried to do that too. So if they can't really roll with that angle, and this starts getting into arms deals and brokering them or recovering money or any of the, intelligence connections that could be made through that passport, or what Vicky Ward said about Acosta having to basically drop the case because he told, let's just get the whole thing straight. Vicky Ward said that, number one, Epstein was connected to Adnan Khashoggi. She also stated that when Acosta was being confirmed to be in the Trump administration and was asked about the Epstein case, he said the reason that he gave him the deal that he got was because why? He was told that Epstein was intelligence and that it was beyond his pay grade. Now, a lot of people will point out, well, we have that Robert Mueller document where he said he was cooperative and gave information. Now, for certain, you could argue right there he becomes an FBI informant. Is that the only intelligence connection? That's certainly not what Vicky Ward alluded to. So it is upsetting to me that these people, these executives within these organizations like The Limited and Victoria's Secret can't come out. Because one of the things that Epstein was doing while he was recruiting these girls, remember we talked about dance schools, we talked about FIT, the Fashion Institute of Technology, we talked about other fashion things here, and modeling, and saying he was a recruiter there. So the art world, the fashion world, he's invested in what? He's also invested in the tech world. MIT Media Lab co-founder defends decision to take Jeffrey Epstein money. Okay? And remember, he said, if you want back the clock, I'd still take it. And that's just being honest. A lot of people are going to tell you right now that these billionaires out there mostly are cutthroat, fucked up people. So they'll take money from anywhere for science. And that's just the way of the world. That's just the reality situation. So, I'm not really even upset with this. I'm upset that it's played up as if this is outrageous, when if more people were speaking honestly, they would be speaking this way. I mean, no one's putting Bill Gates on pressure, right? That's not front page news in this country. That's barely discussed. That Gates was on, I believe it's his helicopter with him after he'd already been a convicted pederast. Period. These are facts. And somehow, when he drafts this weird will, the first person that is there is an associate of Gates. It's a very bizarre connection. We've gone over it in the past. Make sure you thumb this video up, share it, subscribe now, join the Burmese Brigade. Check out the almost 100 videos, I believe, I've done on Epstein and this case long before he was arrested. Most of them are here. You got some work there from We Are Change as well. Now, Glenn Dubin, he was another one of these big names that was there. Now, I covered this. This is not news. I covered the fact that one of the things that was associated with Glenn Dubin was that his butler had stated that he and his wife Deborah were at, I'm not sure if it's which home it was. It was Epstein's Caribbean, or not Caribbean home. He was at Dubin's home, all right? And they were visiting there. And that a 15-year-old girl who said that she was on the island the previous night before, who was in hysterics, shaking and crying. I've read the testimony. I've shown you the documents. I think the week those documents came out, maybe the day those documents came out, definitely maybe in the first 2 or 3 days. We read all this stuff. So this is not news. This is like 2-3 weeks old, right? And she said she refused to have sex with Epstein. And somehow, Sarah Palin was involved, and that her passport had been taken, and that she didn't have her passport. She was from Sweden, and she was shaking and crying, and she didn't even know how she got off the island. So disturbing. So disgusting. And by the way, good for dealbreaker.com finally reporting this, but this isn't NBC, this isn't ABC News, this isn't the coverage. They want you to forget about this. And I'm telling you right now, I am not going to be forgetting about it. And we're going to continue to do deep dives. We hope we get these 10,000 pages. But even before that, we're not stopping. And that's why we're doing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 videos a day here sometimes. I got to kick out some more live interviews. I promise they will be coming up. I'm scheduling those soon. I put out a lot of different old school videos recently. You're going to see a lot of that tomorrow as I'm going to be out of town, so make sure to check them out, thumb them up, share them with others. Webster Tarpley, G. Edward Griffin, Jordan Maxwell, and some other surprises on the way. And if you can support me beyond, becoming a member of the Burmese Brigade, you can give me $5, $10, $15. I owe the world to you. That's how I'm able to do this. Obviously, a lot of my stuff is demonetized. The channel is growing. I thank you so much. We're over 33K. On the way to 50K. So share this information with others. It's not about left or right. It's always been about right and wrong, especially with the Epstein case. Especially with the Epstein case. So wake up. We have a corrupt justice system. Anthony Zappin, $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Have you investigated the filing of Gouffre's case represented by Boris Schiller? No damages alleged, so no contingency. Who is paying the legal bills? It's a good question. I'll tell you this. One of the things that we did focus on before we leave here in the Gouffre case was the allegations against Alan Dershowitz. Now, I was doing videos on Alan Dershowitz, and I'm not giving Alan Dershowitz a pass. However, there is that shady email between Gouffre Roberts and the Daily Mail, and we've read it on air. So we have to look at all sides. However, you look at the Maria Farmer testimony that she says she, contacted the FBI back in the early 2000s, if not the late 90s. Remember, this new indictment was from, I believe, 2002 to 2005, around that time of allegations. And she said, look, I was there. I was the door girl. There were underage models upstairs, and Dershowitz was going upstairs a lot. Does that make him a pedophile? No. I want to make that very clear. But it certainly puts him on the suspect list. That being said, guys, I love you. Thumbs it up. Share it. Join the party. Become a member of the Burmish Brigade for real news. That's what we do here. And I'll see you on the flip side.